Welcome to my presentation on Biomechanics 7.3, Introduction to Angular Motion, Planes and Axis, Center of Mass and Levers. Angular motion is defined as angular motion refers to the movement of a body about a fixed point or axis. An example of this is when a pitcher throws a curveball in baseball. The movement of the pitcher's wrist and fingers causes the ball to spin around an axis, the axis being the center of mass, which is located at the center of the ball. The spinning motion is what's known as angular motion. The spinning causes a pressure difference known as Magnus effect that causes the ball to spin towards or away from the batter, depending on how the pitcher throws it. This is a key skill for a pitcher to have, as it tricks the batter to thinking the ball is going outside the strike zone, meaning they don't swing. However, the ball curves in the strike zone, meaning the pitcher is a strike, or the other way around, where the ball looks like it's going in the strike zone, but the ball curves out, meaning the batter swings and misses, which is also a strike and helps their team. An example of angular motion in gymnastics is a vault. A vault in gymnastics is an event that involves the athlete running and jumping off the springboard onto a vault and going into a front flip. The athlete doing a flip is a rotational movement around the medial lateral axis. In this instance, we can see in the photo that it is the center of mass. As the gymnast leaves the ground with their arms up, which means the center of mass is higher, as they jump in the air, they become a projectile. When the system is in the air, the center of mass cannot be changed, and this becomes the axis point of the rotational movement of the flip. Next, we're looking at planes. Planes look at the anatomical position of a system with an imaginary line that runs through them. The purpose of a plane is to be able to look at a system and see the movement that occurred during a specific skill. This helps as the plane is created so that movement runs along a flat surface on the plane and tells us that the movement is whether it's flexion extension, abduction extension, or rotation. There are three different types of planes: frontal, sagittal, and transverse. The frontal plane splits the body into posterior, which is the back, and anterior, which is the front sides, which the movements occur at the frontal plane are abduction and adduction. An example of a sporting action in the frontal plane is a block in volleyball. A block of volleyball involves the athlete jumping in the air and abducting their arms by sticking them upwards during the execution phase. This is done to prevent a spike shot and sending the volleyball back to the opponent's side. The sagittal plane splits the body to left and right sides and looks at the movement flexion extension. A sporting example that involves the sagittal plane in a penalty shot is a penalty shot in football, in the execution phase as well as the preparation phase. In the preparation phase, the athlete does flexion at the knee into then extension at the knee during the execution phase to be able to apply muscular applied force onto the ball, transferring the kinetic energy onto the football, causing the football to move forwards and upwards. This movement happens in the sagittal plane as the movement along the face of the imaginary flat surface. The transverse plane splits the body into superior, top, and inferior, bottom. This plane looks at the movement rotation. A sporting example where rotation is involved is in a shot put in the execution phase. In a shot put throw, you must rotate around to generate enough power to throw the shot put. The rotation occurs through the whole body, meaning that it is moving along the flat surface of the imaginary plane going through the waist. An example of a frontal plane in gymnastics is the iron cross. The shoulders are in the frontal plane. The shoulders are in the frontal plane in the iron cross because they're being abducted. The athlete, the athlete abducts their arms in the frontal plane as the frontal plane splits the body to back and front, meaning they move along. The athlete sticks up their legs and to move their surface area, they move their center of mass higher up, meaning that it's easier to keep up the center of mass. Sagittal plane. An example of this in gymnastics is when a gymnast jumps in a vault event in gymnastics. The knees are in the sagittal plane as they're being flexed. In a vault, the gymnast will run up and just before they jump, flex their knees to allow more power being pushed down into the ground, meaning that ground reaction force becomes higher, meaning the gymnast can jump higher onto the vault, where they flex their elbows and push on the vault, allowing more force upwards. As they're flipping upwards, their knees and hips become flexed. This allows it tighter to become tighter and allows the rotation movement, allowing them to flip over, reducing risk of injury. An example of a transverse plane in gymnastics is a full twist in a back layout. The body is in the transverse plane as the body is rotating. A gymnast would do a run up and jump into a full twist while doing a backflip. The rotation movement happens throughout the whole body as the plane in meaning that the plane goes through the waist, and the two halves of the body rotate along the surface of the plane. Medial lateral axis. The definition is an imaginary line that runs from side to side through the body, perpendicular to the sagittal plane. An example of a movement occurring in this axis could be a free throw during a preparation phase. An athlete during the preparation phase of a free throw will flex their dominant hand underneath the ball. This then allows the athlete to extend their elbow, which allows them to apply more force over a longer period of time, which means the ball will have more force applied to it, meaning the ball can go higher and the athlete can make a shot easier. Anterior-posterior axis. A fundamental body orientation that defines the front, anterior, to the back, posterior, direction of an organism. An example of a movement that occurs in this axis could be an overhead shot in badminton during the execution phase. The axis runs through the front of the shoulder to the back of the shoulder and allows the movement of the badminton player's arm to come up, allowing the badminton player to then smash the shuttlecock down. This then allows the badminton player to smash the shuttlecock down, meaning that they can apply more power onto the shuttlecock. Longitudinal axis, an imaginary vertical line that runs through the center of the body from top to bottom. An example of a movement that occurs in this axis could be a triple axel figure skating during the execution phase. Figure skater, before completing a triple axel, will skate, building up momentum, allowing them to jump and use the momentum to rotate around the longitudinal axis, which goes from the head down to the toe, which allows the athlete to rotate.